couple in the lobby. All right. Hi, Teresa.
Hi. Can you hear me?
I can. All right. So we're actually just getting started. So hopefully you can see my screen. We're going to talk today about budgeting for the holidays. If for some reason my audio goes out, just throw it up in the chat. I'll try to adjust. I am flying solo today, so if I do miss a chat question, feel free to, I'll get to it at the end. You can ping me or shout it out if you want. But I will promise to get everything answered at least, by the time we end here today. So let's go ahead and get started. So budgeting for the holidays. A little housekeeping before we begin. Just muting your phones. That way everybody. It's a small group, so no big deal there. And then if you do have questions or any comments, you can put those in the chat. And as I said, I'll try to keep an eye on that as we're going through. So today we'll do a quick introduction of myself as well as Wright-Patt Credit Union, and we'll talk about prepping for the holidays, what you should do before you start spending, and then building your holiday budget. And we will go over, what to do if you don't, you're starting a budget for the first time, so we'll cover that as well too. So like I said, introduction for me. So my name is Randy Salyer. I am the Community Development Representative here at Wright-Patt Credit Union. I work with a wide range of different people from high school age to colleges, and then I also work with military and veterans. So I see a lot of different but same kind of struggles and challenges that they might face. And so budgeting is definitely something that we're trying to get out there and kind of why we're doing this. Some information about me, just so you get to know me. My values, I'm very organized. I'm super type A. I'm sure it's really great in my professional life. I'm sure it really annoys some people in my personal life because I always have a plan for everything and a time when we're doing everything. And I'm sure that can be kind of annoying. And then I do have my own financial goals to pay off my student loans. That would be amazing. Save for a vacation. I love to travel, and then continue building my savings. Fun facts about me: I have 2 cats, although we are feeding a family of outdoor cats at the moment, so we have really more than 2. And then I love to read, and I like to hang out with my friends and family when I can. So just a little bit about me, and then a little bit about the credit union as well before we really dive into today's topic. So I'm not going to read all of this to you that's on the screen, but I will point out the mission statement: we help people through life. I know I mentioned previously, I work with college students, high school students, military and veterans, and we really don't care, what your goals are or where you're at financially in your journey. We just want to help you get to your next step. So, whether that is paying down debt, saving for a car, saving for a house, if it's just, building a budget, we're really there to meet you wherever you are. So that's the one I do typically point out to people as we start these events. And then we also talk a little bit here about financial flexibility and freedom. So this is our initiative for financial wellness for our members and really for the Dayton community. And so everything under financial flexibility and freedom falls under our 4 pillars. Today we're going to be talking about spending and managing. So we talk about, budgeting and tips. But we also have webinars and sessions on saving, borrowing, and planning and protecting as well. So on our website, on our events calendar, you'll see a lot of those that are coming up, and you can sign up to attend those if anything strikes your fancy there. So go ahead and dive into some of our content now. So the first thing we talk about is when you're starting to get ready for the holidays is actually checking your credit. You can do this on annualcreditreport.com, which we'll talk about on the next slide a little bit more in depth. But really you want to review it and make sure that everything is accurate. If you do find a mistake, you can file a correction directly with that credit reporting agency on their website. So if you're looking at a TransUnion report, you can go to transunion.com and file a correction directly with them and hopefully get that adjusted. And then just knowing that a healthy score makes getting credit easier if you need it. And a low score might mean that you're paying a higher interest rate, especially right now when interest rates are changing. It feels like every week. So when we talk about ways to check your credit, you can view your credit report at annualcreditreport.com 3 times a year for free. So there are 3 credit bureaus. You could view all your reports at once, right? You could do it in, let's say, June. And then you've looked at all of them and compared them and made sure that they're accurate. Or what I usually do is I will pick one credit reporting agency and I will get that report in January. I'll pick another one in May or April, and then I'll pick another one in the fall. And then that way I kind of have a whole year of credit report just to make sure that there aren't any, big discrepancies there. So that's just a tip that we typically will recommend. And then that's your credit report, but for your credit score, you can check that regularly as well. There are a lot of apps out there that can do that for you with a soft pull on your credit, so that it's not a hard pull. It won't hit your credit, but they can pull your information. Wright-Patt Credit Union members can do that using My Credit Score. It's on mobile and online banking, and that's what I use. It's just linked right there, so I don't have to have another app or link my information to another third party. But if you're not a Wright-Patt Credit Union member, there are apps that you can check your credit score regularly as well. And again, that's a good indication or a good way to just make sure everything is accurate. So that's the first step to prepping for your holiday plan or for your holiday spending. The second is to actually create your holiday plan. So the first step is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I had my hand raised and I wanted to ask a question before we went on. Is that okay?
I'm sorry?
I said I had my hand raised. I want to ask a question before we moved on.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so you said we can pull our credit report, get our credit score, and that's going to give us 3 different numbers in between Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. But why, if I can get the credit scores per the 3 bureaus, why do you guys consistently talk about a FICO score? So that's my confusion.
Okay, so you're breaking up a little bit, but I want to make sure I got your question. So are you asking like what the difference is or why we kind of base things off of the FICO score?
Well, the thing is, if I can pull my credit report from Experian, it's going to be different from TransUnion and Equifax. But now I got my credit score. But why do we need a FICO score? I don't understand the other piece there with FICO score. That's my confusion.
Yes. Okay, so like why we're using the FICO score when you have your credit report?
Right, the credit score per bureau. But now you guys keep talking about the FICO score. Is that the same thing, or is it different, or is something in addition to?
Yeah. Yes. So your credit score is almost like a high-level guide to your credit report. And so you're right, like you could pull your credit report from TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, and it might vary slightly depending on how creditors have relayed information to those bureaus, and that's why you might see some differences there. And then all of that is kind of compiled into your credit score. Your credit score factors in a lot of different things like your payment history, how much utilization you have. So if you have $1,000 on your credit card and you've used $700, you've used 70% of that. So it'll factor that in. It'll factor if you've taken out a lot of cards at once, missed payments, things like that. So it kind of gives a lender a good indication of how you'll pay back, if they were to lend you money, how you'll pay it back or the likelihood that you would. There are 2 different credit scores, actually. There's the FICO, and then there's a new one called Vantage. And they're very similar in how they're made up with all of those different pieces. I believe Vantage actually just has one extra component to it. It's very similar to credit utilization. It's just available credit that you have. So that's kind of how those are made up or determined. And that's typically, you know, what, like if you go to buy a car, right, your lender is going to look at your credit score first, just to get a good indication of an interest rate that you might get.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Almost. I understood what you just explained to me, but the thing, or is someone taking all three of the credit scores and getting a median? That's how we arrive to a FICO score or a Vantage score? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Okay. So you're wondering if they look at your credit report and then they like average those out into a score?
Yes.
Okay. I don't believe they do, because FICO and Vantage are just looking at those 6 indicators, and when we're done here, let me pull up something that will actually show you how those are broken up.
Okay, great.
Yep, I'll do that one. Don't let me forget.
Okay, I won't. Thank you. Sorry,
yeah,
guys.
Definitely. No, you're good. All right. So creating a holiday plan. The first thing you want to do, write down what you need to spend. That could be gift cards, wrapping paper, if extra baking goods, and travel plans. I know for me personally, I'm really good at writing down the gifts that I want to buy people and the estimated cost. I always neglect things like wrapping paper, baking goods, white elephant gifts. If you've done like a toy drive, I always forget those extra things. So writing down everything that you're going to have to spend is really the first step in creating that plan. And then taking a look at your list and prioritizing. So like, what is a must spend, right? I definitely want to get my kids a gift. Do I need to get my cat a gift? Like, probably not. That'd be nice, but like, they don't care. That's for me. So what's a must spend, and then, you know, what's a nice to have, and kind of prioritize, you know, maybe those purchases first. And then just updating your regular budget to include your holiday spending. So if you do have a regular budget that you're using now, making sure that you're adding in this additional holiday spend, and that could be for, you know, my sister starts Christmas shopping in August. I usually don't start until about October. So in October, I know that I'm going to need to put my holiday spending in there, whereas, you know, she probably starts adding it in August. And then if you don't have a budget that you're currently using, that's okay. We're here to learn about budgeting for the holidays. So I added in some stuff about budgeting in general. It's really as easy as 3 steps. So we're going to track spending, we're going to build a plan, and then we're going to build our budget. So hopefully this isn't too small. I will say everything that I have in the next couple of slides is on our website, so you can pull it up, you can print it off, or you can create your own digitally, or you could create your own really just using our format. But the first thing you want to do is track your spending. So you want to track every expense. We typically suggest you do it for 30 days. It does get tedious. It's probably the hardest step in building your budget, but it gives you a really clear picture of what you spent for the whole month, right? And sometimes, I know if you've ever gotten to a paycheck or you've gotten to the end of the month and you say, well, where did all my money go? This will help you determine where your money went. You want to include your bills and your payments, and then you can monitor your habits and you'll see opportunities where you can adjust, right? At the end of the month, if you're like, okay, I went to Dunkin' Donuts too often, I'm going to cut that back. You'll be able to tell that, right? We do have categories on here. So we have fixed bills, flexible bills, and personal spending. So fixed bills are going to be your things like your utilities or your mortgage that don't necessarily change, right? They're the same every month. Flexible bills are going to be things like gas or groceries. Gas right now, right? Who knows what I'm going to be paying? It's not the same every month. And then personal spending is, again, going to be things like that Dunkin' Donuts, or your Netflix subscription, whatever that is. So you track your spending for the month, and then you have a clear picture of what you spent. Now, we start with this because next we transition our personal spending list into a monthly plan. right? If we start with the plan, we might veer off, but now we know what we've spent, so now we can add it into a monthly budget plan. If there's not a place for it in your plan, if you're like, I don't plan on spending this, then you know maybe you don't need to spend that next month. I love this budgeting sheet that is on our website. I tell people about it all the time because it has so many categories on there that a lot of times you might not overthink, that you might forget about, right? So under utilities is gas and oil. At our house, we heat our house with oil, so we only have to purchase it in one lump sum in the summer, right? If I'm making my budget in the, let's say in March, I might not factor that in. So it's nice to have this on here so I can remember. Kids' lunch money is another one that I feel like a lot of parents just completely don't put in their budget because they forget about it. And then, they're like, hey, you spent $20 on Gatorade this week. We need to figure out, how, sorry, I'm just reading the chat question, how we can, let's factor that into our budget. There's even things on there like lottery is on the back. A lot of people were playing the lottery recently. So if that's in your budget plan, nobody's judging you for it. We just want you to account for it so that when you are making your budget, you want to factor that in. And Carolyn, yes, these are all on our website, so you can access them at any time and use those if you wish. So yeah, I'll show you where they're at too when I pull up the credit score information for Teresa. So track your spending, create a plan, and then really what's going into your budget. Now we're able to build our budget. There are, again, you'll see fixed expenses, those things like utilities and car loans that don't change every month, our variable expenses, groceries, dry cleaning, laundry. And then we also factor in savings as an expense. You've probably heard people say, oh, you should pay yourself first. Well, that's really great, but if I don't have any money, I can't pay myself first. So what I always tell people is you're actually paying your future self with the now, soon, and later savings. So I always give the example that I'm not a great driver, and my now savings is that if I get a ticket, they're going to want me to pay that ticket pretty quickly. So I need to have money in my savings so that I can pay that ticket, right? My soon savings is actually, we live in Ohio. It's about to be winter. The roads aren't necessary. They're not great everywhere. And so I might need new tires. I know I'm going to need new tires soon, right? So that for me, I'm paying my future self to get tires. I'm not just saving money for, whatever I might need in the future. I know that money's for tires. So I can put $5 aside or $10 aside every check. And then my later savings, I will probably need a new car. I drive a 2011 Camry. I love it, but it's a 2011 Camry. So eventually I'll need to replace it, and that's kind of my later savings again. So that's kind of how I think of the now, soon, and later savings, is really just paying your future self so that you have the funds for the things that you know you're going to need. And then what you can do is take your income minus your expenses, which include those fixed, the variable, and savings. And then at the end, you'll either have extra money left over or a shortage. Today we don't go into what happens if you have a shortage. We have a debt repayment plan and some debt tools, like debt elimination tools that we have. We do offer financial learning sessions about that if you're interested. However, for this class, we're just going to talk about the budgeting. But that information is on our website as well. Check the chat. Okay. All right. There's one thing I want to pull up before we go to the next slide. So hopefully you can still see my screen. We partner with Greencast. They are just a financial learning, financial engagement partner that we have here at the credit union. And they created this budgeting spreadsheet for Christmas or for the holidays specifically. We have some similar ones on our site that are general. So I know that general budgeting was a question, but I really like this one because of, again, it factors in a lot of things that you might miss. And you can also put, type something in. Oh, maybe my budget for my Nerf gun is $35 and I spent $36. And I love that it changes colors. It's told me, what was my total budget here? I can add that in. If it's $300, right? How much I have left. I absolutely love this worksheet. If you would like, I don't have this saved on our website, but if you would like me to send this one to you, if you want to put your email in the chat, or actually you registered for this, so I have your email, I'll attach this to the email that we send out after this. So you'll be able to have this as well. But I love the coloring and just how detailed it is. Any questions so far? Okay. All right. So now we just have some holiday spending tips. So hosting a potluck instead of having everyone over for dinner and doing everything. I know that that's something that I've struggled with before. You know, I want everything to be ready when people come over and look nice and everything's already done. But hosting a potluck can really cut down on expenses, especially right now with inflation. What we're seeing at the grocery store, you know, it might be better if everybody brings one dish, right? Versus, you know, trying to prepare everything. Plan low to no cost family outings. So things like tree lightings. I know Wright-Patt Credit Union actually sponsored the downtown Dayton tree lighting that's going to be on the 25th of November. So we'll be there when they do their tree lighting that night. But, you know, anything that might be free or, again, no low cost. My favorite thing to do around Christmas time is going to see lights at houses. So just getting in the car, putting on some music and driving around and looking at the lights that people have out is pretty fun. Another one is to set spending limits. So agree, you know, if it's a family member, agree on how much money you're going to spend per person and then stick to it, right? That's probably the one that I didn't put on there, with actually sticking to a spending limit. I feel like a lot of times, a lot of people, we set the limit and then we just go over it anyway. Just setting that and sticking to it. Playing gift exchange games. So my siblings, my cousins, and our significant others, we all put a name in a hat, right? And we draw one person and we get them a gift. It's a secret Santa. You could do a white elephant, or I think some people call it Yankee swap, where you just kind of sit, you know, you kind of can steal someone's gift. That can be kind of fun. But making it so that you only have one gift to buy versus, you know, 8 can really reduce spending significantly. Think of other income sources if you do have a side hustle. I know that's kind of tough during the holidays because you're busy, so you might not have enough time to, you know, do that side hustle. But if you do have one, that's another avenue for income. Keep your plan on your phone. So, you know, if you set a budget and you set a holiday budget, just jot down what that is on your phone, and then that way when you're out shopping, you won't impulse buy something for someone. Track your purchases. This is one that I do on my phone. I have the Notes app, and I've, you know, added in there who I bought for, how much I spent and what it was. And then that way, you know, I can keep track. I have I don't want to say unfortunate, but both my parents' birthdays, one is in November and one is in December. So when I'm purchasing gifts, I'm buying, and my niece's is in December or in November. So I'm almost double buying some of the gifts that I'm getting them. Shop with cash when you can, and avoid credit card use if possible. So I know a lot of people, one thing that we see pretty commonly, especially in like January, February timeframe, we'll get people that are, you know, they say, I went overboard at Christmas, right? I bought too much. I wanted to give my grandkids a really great experience, and so I bought them too many gifts. And we don't want to see that happen. So we're trying, you know, if you can build your holiday budget and kind of set those limits and stick to them, that will hopefully help, and it will help avoid that credit card use as well. And then the last tip we have is just to include your family. So let them know, hey, I have a holiday budget. Here's what it is. Being upfront about it, especially if you get them involved as well. A lot of times, I think that's a good tip that I would recommend for passing down budgeting tips for children, right? Is saying, hey, we have a budget, and this goes really for any type of budget, not just holiday, but, you know, including your family and letting them know, hey, you know, we're going to build this out, and this is what it's going to look like, and getting them involved that way generationally, then they can kind of take that information and share it as well. So that's another tip that we have. I don't know if either of you have any holiday tips that you would share. I'm going to mute real quick. Oh. All right. Don't see any tips coming through the chat. Oh, I think we got one. Oh, sorry, Carolyn. I did just ask if either of you had any spending tips that you wanted to share other than the ones that I shared. All right, I'm going to pull up the internet, and bear with me here. This wasn't in my plan. So you both asked about some information, so I want to share that with you. The internet will go as fast as it wants. All right. So on our website, under helpful resources, we do have a brochures tab. This is going to have a lot of different, everything from like where we're located at to more of the fraud awareness and financial education. I believe this is the credit score one. Let me make sure. All right. I'm going to try to zoom in here. All right, it's not letting me zoom, but this is where this is located. And actually, I'm going to drop this link in the chat. That way, Teresa, if you want to see it more closely, you can do that. But here's what makes up that Vantage score. That's what we use at the credit union. I know you mentioned FICO a couple of times. It's very similar, but Vantage just has one more element to it. So what this is saying is it's made up 40% of your payment history. So again, if you have missed or late payments, that's going to really ding it more than anything else because it's that 40%. 21% is age and type of credit. So age just means how long have you had that credit line open. The longer, the better. And then type of credit, is it a revolving debt, something like your credit card, or is it more of an installment payment like a car loan or a student loan? That's what that one is. Credit utilization, again, if you've used 70% of your available credit, that's gonna ding it about 20%. I will say that the recommended amount is 30% of your available credit. So if you have that $1,000 card, you want to keep that balance that you're carrying, if you have to carry a balance, under $300. Balances make up 11%. So again, total balances that you're carrying for all your loans. And then 5% is recent credit. So if you have opened up, let's just say, maybe you've opened up like 3 or 4 different cards within like that's going to affect it 5%. That's, they want to see that's a lot. That's just a lot of cards to open up in one period of time when they're looking at, building that score for you. And then 3% is available credit, which is the opposite of credit utilization, right? If you have $300 on your credit card, that's a $1,000 limit, then you have $700 available. So it's just kind of flip-flopped there. Does that help, Teresa, with your initial question?
Yeah, it does. I was just trying to figure out if I can get a 750 from TransUnion. Why do I need to be concerned with the FICO score? Is it not the same? The FICO score is going to be whatever it is, but if TransUnion said I have 750, Equifax said I have 740, and Experience says I have 790, those are my credit scores. Why do we keep talking about a FICO score?
So they actually probably, even though the report pulled all of your information, they probably, like, Experian uses a FICO score. So that's probably how they made that up.
Okay.
Yes. So that's,
okay.
That's what, and it could be that, like, if you see variances there, it could be that one uses FICO and one uses Vantage. It could also mean that, yep.
All right, so once I hit your home page, do I go to helpful resources to get to this?
Yep, okay. So helpful resources, and then You can get to it from brochures. You can also go to our education center.
Okay, got it.
And there's a lot of information here, depending on what you want to learn about. So saving, spending, borrowing, and planning. And then we have a lot of different, there's brochures, there's informational pieces. There's also learning modules. So if you're like, hey, I really want to learn more about credit scores or mortgages or retirement, you can take like a 5 to 10 minute like video or interactive module that you can kind of self-paced guide yourself through that will give you more.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Definitely. Let me see here. And Carolyn, you had mentioned access to the documents that we talked about today. So let me make sure this is the right one. No. We have quite a few. Carolyn, I'm going to find those two and drop them in the chat for you. And then we can include those links on an email that we'll send out after this, just with this recording as well, and make sure that you have that. Do either of you have any other questions?
I do, please.
Yeah.
Okay. So recording and slides. Will we be able to get a recording and slides of this, or do you have it on your website that I can go back and review it?
Yeah, definitely. So what we'll do is we'll send an email out. It may not be today, but within, I would look for it within the next few days. To the people that registered, it'll have this video link, and I'll ask them to include links to all of the documents as well.
Okay. My next question is Wright-Patt. I know you said you don't have it, but is that something you're going to ask this other company to provide for us? The Wright-Patt?
Yes. Try to have them include a link to that.
Yes.
Yes, I'll see it. Yes, I'll try to get that one up, loaded up there so that we have that one as well.
Okay. And the last question for me is, you mentioned something about a shopping app. When you're out shopping, you actually make your data entry into some type of shopping app. What was that?
Yeah, so I have an iPhone and I just use the Notes app. It comes on every iPhone.
And I have one as well.
Yep. So you can make like a little table in that app, and that's usually what I'll do. You can just make some little columns and say, okay, my brother is going to get this, and it costs, I don't know, $30.
Okay.
So that's what I just use. There might be, a specific like app out there for that, but I don't want to download another app.
Okay.
So.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. Well, I think we're good. Like I said, look out for that email that you'll get, and it'll have this information in there. If you do have other questions, also feel free to reach out to us. We have contact information on the website. You can also email, I'm going to put this in the chat because it's long, financial flexibility and freedom. And you can ask your questions there, and we'll get back to you there as well. So thank you for your time today. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Okay.
And
I don't see the chat information, so I can grab that information.
Sure. Are you on a desktop or a phone?
Desktop.
Okay. If you go up to, like, if you have the Teams chat open, actually, let me see if I can share my other screen and show you where it's at. It's going to look really weird, but I can. No, I cannot. If you look at the very top, it should say